So it's taken me a while to work out the kinks in my graphics setup. I've done a lot of deep diving, mixing and matching, and even creating some of my own mods to fill in the gaps. But today, by request from a MooMoo, I'm finally showing y'all my graphics overhaul. These are all the mods I've collected over the years that give my game that emotional cinematic feel. The kind that makes you want to pause and take a bunch of screens. What's good, MooMoo crew? Welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here, thank you so much for stopping by. If you're into cozy chaos and aesthetic Sims content, consider giving this video a like. It really helps out the channel. Atmospheric mods. So first things first, I have to talk about my weather setup. I ended up combining 𝖕𝖊𝖊𝖕𝖔 Perfect Day lighting with 𝖈𝖔𝖊𝖉𝖊𝖔 lighting mod because I loved the rich saturation from Perfect Day, but I also wanted the softer, realistic shadow play that 𝖈𝖊𝖊𝖕𝖔 brings. My water is bright, clear, and blue, like borderline drinkable. It ties in beautifully with the anime clouds I made myself. I actually created this mod a while ago when I was just experimenting and trying to teach myself how to mod the game. I was obsessed with the idea of big, soft, fluffy clouds. I wanted it to feel like Life is Strange collided with a Studio Ghibli film, like a dream you could play in. The lighting combo I use really brings out the beauty of sunsets, golden hours, rainy evenings. All of it just hits harder now. And then there's 𝖚𝖘𝖎𝑗's night sky, probably the most hyper-realistic starfield I've found for The Sims 3. So far, it reminds me of Skyrim's sky mods with that galaxy detail. The stars are so tiny and compact, it gives this dense, immersive feeling. And when I turn my depth of field on, mood setting unlocked, every night in game feels completely different depending on what's happening. It's just so immersive. Environmental mods. Now let's move on to the world beneath the sky. You might be surprised to know I actually don't use a ton of texture replacers, just a handful of small targeted tweaks, but they make a huge difference in game. Like I've said before, a lot of what you're seeing in my videos, that's just my G-Shade preset doing most of the heavy lifting. But I still want to put y'all onto some lesser known mods that quietly transform the environment. First up is the harvestable tree default replacement. This one replaces the mesh and textures of the harvestable fruit tree. And honestly, it is such a glow up. It takes away that chunky, round cartoon shape and makes it look more like an actual tree, a tree that grows in real life. Pair that with the harvestable bush default replacement from 𝖚𝖐𝖚𝖕𝖊𝖔𝖚 blog. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. It does the same kind of overhaul, more natural textures, less Maxie's weirdness. Now, it doesn't have geostates, meaning the visual stages of growth won't change, but it doesn't break gameplay at all, and to me, that's a fair trade-off for realism. Then there's 𝖕𝖐𝖚𝖕𝖊𝖕𝖓𝖓 default replacement. Let's be so for real, EA did lavender dirty. This replacement finally makes it look like an actual plant and not a melted purple lump. I'd call this one more of a fix than a graphical mod. Bouncing back to weather real quick, I also use the clear water drops mod by MooMoo. This one adjusts rain transparency and size, making raindrops look more like actual water falling instead of shiny glass beads. It's subtle but gorgeous, and bonus, smaller droplets actually give a tiny performance boost during storms. I learned that trick from Skyrim modding days. Now for the snow. This one, like my weather combo, is a custom mix I'd have to upload. It combines 𝖈𝖊𝖊𝖕𝖔 snow textures with 𝖚𝖚𝖊𝖕𝖔 snow mod, so I get the cleaner, crispier textures and the better mesh fixes. Best of both worlds. Architectural mods. Alright, next we're hitting a default replacement trifecta for your builds: ceiling, chimney, and walls. Let's start with probably the hardest mod to link. I installed this one over a year ago, and I'm pretty sure it was buried somewhere deep in the Sims 3 subreddit. It's a ceiling texture replacement mod, and I think it was made by 𝖚𝖚𝖚𝖕𝖚𝖚, uploaded directly to Reddit and literally nowhere else. I will be re-uploading it on my Tumblr for all of you, and of course, if the original creator ever comes forward, I will respectfully take it down and link to their version instead. Now, as for the mod itself, it just adds some much needed texture and shading to your ceilings. I personally love how neutral and realistic it looks. Ceilings are one of those parts of the game we don't don't really think about, and when we do, speaking for myself, I get a bit stumped. This mod gives you a clean, safe default that works in most homes and community lots, and it cuts down on build time since you're not fussing with awkward ceiling patterns. Next up, a chimney default replacement. This one comes with 18 swatches, so feel free to pick the one that fits your style, but please only install one. I gotta say it because not everything is self-explanatory to everyone. And finally, the EA default wall replacement. You already know those gray EA walls are uninspiring. I went with the rose-colored version. It feels brighter to me and honestly helps keep my build spirits up in game, but there are other options too, so just pick whatever lifts your mood. Alright, now that we've touched the structure, let's move into something a bit more essential. Lighting mods. I only use 2 lighting mods, but together they put in work. First is the reworked and improved EA Lights mod, and second is the window light override. When you combine these with your G-shade or reshade preset, doing the heavy lifting like I'm showing you here, the result is insane. Light starts behaving like it's been to therapy. Calm, purposeful, cinematic. We love to see it. It's the glow spilling through windows and the way the light wraps around objects. It gives the whole game this beautiful softness and depth. World detail mods. This last batch is kind of a miscellaneous list. Stuff you may not have heard of, but that I personally consider graphic enhancements just as much as visual clutter. First up, the University Graffiti default replacement by 𝖈𝖐𝑚. These textures look way more like something you'd see from actual graffiti artists. Less cartoon, more art. It makes having a graffiti sim in my household feel intentional and cool again, so I count it as both a visual and gameplay upgrade. Then we have the 𝖕𝖐𝖚 newspaper default replacement. If you're tired of that clunky old EA newspaper, this one gives it a sleek, more modern look. I also combine it with 𝖕𝖕𝖕𝖕𝖔's buyable newspaper stand and Around the Sims buyable newspaper, which helps make newspapers feel purposeful again. Instead of just tossing them away every day, it becomes part of your Sim's routine. Like if you want your Sim to be into news, it should actually feel like they want to. Next is the AMD Pixels Insect Terrarium. I originally grabbed this for my medieval folder, but it's so elegant and well designed that it works in any theme. Medieval, sci-fi, modern, cottagecore, whatever. I love finding bugs now. I'll adopt them, name them, and proudly place them in their little glass sanctuary like they're part of the household. Then there's the full bottle default replacement. Simple but necessary. EA's version didn't really match my game's vibe, so this replacement just fits better with the overall aesthetic. And finally, a little builder essential is an invisible texture add-on for the late night dance floors. Because if you're like me, you hate trying to match those gaudy floor textures. This mod makes the dance floor completely invisible, so it blends in and lets your build speak for itself. So yeah, that's my current Sims 3 graphics overhaul. If you've ever wanted your game to feel like a slow burn indie film, or like you're playing someone's bittersweet memories, these mods are your key. Let me know in the comments which mod blew you away. As always, I love you all and happy simming.